Hi friends, welcome to the Shits and Gigs podcast where we keep the vibe high, the humor gets raunchy, and things get spicy when we talk about food. I'm your host Meg Davis, and we are here tonight for our regularly scheduled Bath Bombz episode. We have officially wrapped up the base meal mini-series, so I hope you enjoyed that. And if you haven't gotten a chance to listen in on those couple episodes yet, I highly recommend it, especially if you're in a season where you are trying to grow confidence in the kitchen and just really educate yourself on how to build those simple yet balanced recipes in the kitchen that are not sacrificing on flavor and are hopefully embracing nothing but the best ingredients for you and your body to feel amazing every single day. I am in the midst of a head cold, so I apologize if I sound like a Karen that smokes a pack of Newports every single day. But regardless, I show up if I can talk. We are here. And for tonight's Bath Bombz, we are actually going to be leaning into signs and trusting your intuition, because this is something that has been so pivotal for me lately, especially most recently, but this past year has called for all sorts of change and pivots and requirements of myself to show up for myself. And through the uncertainty of it all, the one thing that has kept me grounded is receiving signs from the universe as validation, and also helping acceptance of certain things. I think what it's come down to for me in this past year is when you're really showing up for yourself, it's hard to ignore the signs, because the universe does reward you living your best life from what I've experienced. As long as you're rooted in that and you are showing up for yourself intentionally and you're asking for the signs also, the universe will show up and guide you in a powerful way. And whether that be your God, the universe, or whatever you believe in, this kind of conversation revolves around whatever you believe in. I'm going to say universe because that's my belief, but you can obviously fill in that word with whatever you believe in. So keep that in mind as with this episode unfolds today. But another big pivotal thing that I've kind of rooted myself in this past year is that the fact that our life has way more impact than we can ever realize and wrap our head around. Through certain events and things that have unfolded this year, I just see how interconnected all of our lives are, and how on purpose life is, and how the impact that our individual life has on not only our close-knit circle, but passersby in the street and people cashing you out at the market and things of that nature. Every interaction that you take where another human gets to experience you leaves a ripple effect when you think about it. Say I'm at the playground and I'm that parent that's actually playing with my kid and not just sitting on the bench on my phone. That's going to leave an imprint on someone potentially. You know what I mean? Say you are at the grocery store and you notice a couple arguing. That's going to leave an impact on your brain, whether it be big or small, you know what I mean? Depending on your situation. So just continue to think about how you're showing up for first yourself every day, because that is huge. You need to show up for yourself in big ways, because at the end of the day, I've also realized, I think I might have mentioned this last episode, at the end of your best days and at the end of your worst days, the only person you can truly depend on is yourself. So if you're not showing up for yourself, you are failing yourself, and you are giving up the 1 ounce of control that you have over this human experience, which is how you get to experience your body and how you feel in your body and all of the things that you have control of that revolves around that, like eating. What you're eating obviously affects your human experience, because it's your gut health, it's your digestion, it's your energy levels depending on what you're eating. It's how strong or weak you feel, it's how tired you feel, how much sleep are you getting every day. That directly affects your human experience. Are you choosing to stay up late and play video games or binge watch a show, or are you going to bed at a certain amount or certain predetermined time every night because you know that time is ideal for whatever you're regular wake-up time is. Are you even having a regular wake-up time? Your sense of routine and structure is completely within your control. Even when it feels like it's not, guys. You can leave a much bigger impact for yourself than you also realize. So take time to reflect about that potentially if that's feeling stuck and heavy for you. But yeah, being rooted in this ripple effect mindset too has been pivotal this past year. The last 6 months specifically have been the most pivotal and transformative and scary and push for growth and change that I've ever, I think, experienced in my lifetime so far. Outside of when I went full time, or the first time I stepped into entrepreneurship, I feel like was a very similar feeling. So big shifts, big changes, and it's scary, it's exciting. But the only thing that has grounded me is these signs that when I'm really going through it, and when you're living on purpose and for yourself, the signs are just so obvious. It's hard to ignore them so long as you're open to them. Because if you're not even open to the signs, you're not even going to witness or recognize them. So that's something to reflect on also, is how open am I to even receiving guidance from whatever you believe in? Because sometimes you just feel so stuck and heavy that you can't even accept the signs. So how are you showing up for yourself in that way? And I guess let's just get into it, because this is an easy topic for me to tangent on, and I'm going to do my best to help you guys navigate and follow these crazy unfoldings that I've experienced, to just prove to you that signs are there when you need them and when you're looking. So let's start in August. We had found out that our immediate family is larger than we've known for our entire life. So that was kind of crazy. I'm not going to dive into all the details because just out of respect for my family, we're not ready to dive into everything yet publicly. But this was a huge unexpected turn and definitely impactful for future years lived together. Our family is larger than we knew, and luckily in our circumstance, it has been nothing but good things. But that initial impact of that information was an emotional roller coaster, to say the least. And it was definitely challenging to unpack and process. And that in itself, like I said, was just a lot to accept and navigate. And luckily at this point in my year, I had already established my morning anchor, where I was showing up for myself in, again, a very simple way. I just wash my face every morning as a little refresh before I do anything. I usually turn on some sound bowl music. And then I come downstairs, I do my hip and core mobility, maybe 2 minutes of that. I do my push-ups, and then I started doing my headstands on my acupressure mat. All in all, maybe takes 20 minutes of my morning from getting out of bed to when I get downstairs and complete that routine. So again, a very simple way to show up for myself, ways that I can feel strong and healthy and centered without exerting a ton of time out of my day, because I'm really having to microdose my self-care for the part of my life that I'm in. So that's just where I'm at. But that morning anchor really helped me establish just prioritizing myself first thing in the day. So that has been a huge, amazing habit for me to embrace. So luckily, when we received this news, I had already established that morning anchor and really showing up for myself in those small ways, but consistently. So that was big as far as supporting myself. But when we were navigating this info and it was still feeling very heavy and overwhelming, I was going through it in the garden. I tend to get outside as an escape. That's my thing. And since I was in the garden, I just was with myself, no one else around, and I had asked for a sign. I said, if all of this is for the good of everyone involved and everything is going to unfold in divine timing for the greater good of everyone involved, I think is how I worded it. Show me a 4-leaf clover, because there were clovers all over our yard. I thought this was a very reasonable sign to ask for from my divine guides. So I asked for it. I was unsuccessful, but out of the blue, maybe 2 weeks later, I received in a text message from one of these new family members a picture of a clover, a 4-leaf clover. Apparently they find them all the time. And that was just wow. I If I didn't believe in signs, I do now, because that was totally unprompted. I had that conversation with no one but myself. And the fact that someone within the situation I was struggling to navigate sent me that sign personally, I was like, wow, this life is bigger than we know, and so on purpose. So then not only was I already rooted in this space of how my life and how I show up for myself and others has ripple effect on everyone that I come into contact with, now I have this undeniable layer of like, I am guided if I choose to be. So that's when I like got rerouted in. I had a huge journaling practice before baby, and that's something that I just haven't been able to lean back into, and I haven't been talking to my angels like I used to. And that moment for me was like, I am guided if I choose to be. So that was when I just reopened my heart to those signs and guidance to help navigate not only this family happening, but like the things that were to come that I didn't even realize were coming. So that was just, again, validation for me that something is always listening, and this unfolding life is just so on purpose, bigger than we can even imagine. And then my most recent life pivots happening, I've been asking for guidance because it's just something that I didn't plan for myself, and it's been very scary and necessary. Oh, I knew I was gonna cry, but it's something that has probably needed to happen for a while, and I'm just so blessed and grateful for everything that I've experienced so far, and I'm so proud of the things that I've done in my career and the impact that I've been able to have on people with healing their relationship with food and achieving great health and like feeling confident and happy in your own skin. I will never take that for granted. But these things that are unfolding now, I've just been asking for guidance because it's something I didn't see coming for myself, essentially. And my neighbor Louise has been popping up. She has passed since it's actually been 6 years already, because our wedding anniversary was just this weekend, 6 years. And she passed just before my wedding, and she was a very pivotal guide for me in her lifetime. She was kind of like a grandma. She lived right next door to us, so she showed up a lot for my parents when they were working. She would take us in the mornings before school, and she's just been showing up a lot for me lately, so I've been trying to be open to her signs. And when Josh and I had gone through our basement last year, I found a note that she had written me that didn't make sense at the time, but made so much sense when I found it in my like initial postpartum journey. And I'll actually read it in case it kind of hits home for anybody. So it's this handwritten note. It's on a paper that I've always noted that there's 2 butterflies on it. So anytime that I see butterflies outside, I always think of her. I think that was my message to accepting her signs as butterflies. But here's her note in case this hits home for anybody. It says, "Dear Megan, God gives all of nature a time of rest, then rebloom. You have given me a special period to rebloom along with you." And I thought that was beautiful because in our fast-paced society, we are often pushed to continue to just move and move and move and move and keep grinding and doing all these things, and we don't often give ourselves permission to take that pause. And that pause is so crucial, especially when you're navigating something that requires a level up, and we don't give ourselves that time. So that's huge to think about for yourself, especially if something is feeling out of balance in your life, like to give yourself that gift of a pause, to just really feel what you're feeling and tune inward to see where your guides are guiding you, you know? So this note has been on our fridge for a little over a year now. And I mean, it's there all the time, so I don't always notice it. But recently it's been calling my name, so I've been looking at it, and I've been thinking about her. So that's just been something that's on my mind, like being open to her signs, and like when things remind me of her, kind of being present on like what's going through my head so I can see if she's trying to give me a sign. But that's been calling my attention. And then I recently won a psychic reading, and that was very enlightening as far as guides go and stuff. Kind of opened this floodgate of change that I was avoiding. And then I was still kind of like accepting the change, but not necessarily taking it on and accepting that I was going to give myself the choice of change. So, as confusing as that probably sounded. So psychic reading, kind of like open accepting to signs, not necessarily moving forward with the change, just accepting that change is coming. And then I had this old lady client. She kind of reminded me of Louise when I had the chance to work with her. I hadn't actually talked to her in months, so it was kind of odd that she had reached out. And like her ask was even odder. She had asked if I could give her a book back that she had given me, which I thought was gifted, but apparently she was letting me borrow it. And I was honest, and I had told her that I hadn't even gotten around to reading it, unfortunately. But there was something in my gut immediately that I was like, there was a bit of regret, because I remembered that she had given me a journal and a book, and one of them had a quote inside that I remember really resonated with me. And I couldn't remember why, I couldn't remember what the quote said, but I had found the book for her, and it didn't have the quote in it. So I was like, you know what, it's probably in that journal. So I've been looking for this journal for like 3 weeks. So try and stay with me, because these signs also kind of unfolded in a period of weeks. And so that's the funny thing with signs too, is sometimes they are like microdosed. I like using that word for whatever reason. Signs compile on each other if you're paying attention. So try and connect the dots here. We have the clover opening me up to signs are real and they exist, and you can be guided if you're open and accepting to that. And then Louise has been on my mind. The note with butterflies, keep the butterfly in mind, because that'll come back up. And then I kind of was not in a rut, but again, in that space of like accepting that change is coming, but I'm not really making moves to pivot or make change. And then my old client walks into my life again and asks for this book. I reconnect with her, and I'm not sure if our conversation per se had anything pivotal, but it got me thinking about this journal that I couldn't find. So I've been on the hunt for this journal. And then we were making Cam's trash truck costume. Stay tuned. It's actually coming out really impressive. I'm really proud of us. But we were making his costume, and I needed to go into his playroom and dig out my paints. And I say dig out because I've been meaning to take out my paints to either paint with him or make time for myself to paint again, just to like fuel my inner child a little bit. But they're inside a cedar chest, which is also, I have like plants on top of the cedar chest, because I friggin' read that story one time of kids getting trapped in the cedar chest, and it like freaked me out. So I needed to make it like impossible for him to open that chest. So I had to like literally dig out my paints. And when I opened it, the first thing I saw was a pile of pictures. And on the top was a picture of Louise and I, which I was like, whoa, crazy. Like, I see you, I hear you, like I'm listening. So then my mind is automatically, because I see that picture, open to a bigger possibility of what the hell is going to be in this chest, because I totally believe that that was for a reason that I saw that first. So I am now like looking for my paints and stuff. I'm going through it. I grab the photos. I kind of finger through them a little bit. It's pictures with Louise. I think it's actually the pile of pictures that her daughter had given us after she had passed. So a lot of them have her in it. But also it's like pictures of our neighbors and stuff. And like one neighbor isn't even alive anymore. So like that was kind of crazy for me to think about for a second. And then I find the friggin' journal. The journal's in the cedar chest, and I look at it, and on the front cover is a stamped butterfly with my name on it, which butterflies also in themselves are a beautiful sign of transformation and like leveling up and embracing beauty and all of that jazz. So that in itself is a powerful symbol. And then I open it up, and that quote is there that I remembered, or that I didn't remember, but I remembered it was impactful. I'm going to read it to you because it's crazy how it just reinforces that the idea of our impact in this lifetime and our like choices, how they impact others larger than we can realize. Which is, I'm going to tag an episode too. I listened to Two Fun Guys podcast with episode guest Heidi, who is the drink girl on the Kill Tony podcast that we watch. So I had just strictly watched their episode because I was curious to see what she had to say, because other than being the drink girl, I had no clue who she was. And it ended up being a very insightful episode, so definitely check it out. I'll tag it in the description. But that's initially what had gotten me rooted in this mindset of like, we have a huge ripple effect on our lifetime and everyone that we come into contact with. And this quote is crazy. So this is inside the Butterfly Journal. It says the Bregden Principle. Every life that has been lived until today is part of the woven braid of life. It makes every person's story to create history. Your life will help determine the course of history. You may think you don't have much of an impact, you do. Every action you take will reflect in someone else's life, someone else's decisions, someone else's future, both good and bad. And I was like, wow, that is so crazy, because that is basically how I've been trying to live. And it's just like, that was validation to me that I'm on the right track, even though it feels scary and uncertain, that the choices that I choose to make moving forward, I need to first and foremost prioritize myself and how I'm showing up for myself and my family. And just trust that if as long as I feel great about how I'm showing up for myself and my family, the rest will radiate and reflect so well onto others, hopefully. You know what I mean? So that was just so crazy for me. And then the pictures, I just like, again, we're looking at the pictures, and my intuition and mind went to like meditation. So I was like, I wonder if it would be cool to reflect each week. I'm going to take one photo and I'm going to reflect on that moment and really try and be present in like the moment of that photo, because I feel like we just fucking skirt through life one day after another, and we never actually take time to stop and be present for like the life that we've already lived. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we reflect on the good times and we recognize the bad times, especially like of people that have passed and things of that nature, but we often don't take time to actually recognize the life that we've lived already. Like how I used to go in the woods with my friends and we built a fort and would be like explorers or whatever. And like, that was a really fun time in my life that I often forget about because I just don't give myself the time to be there. You know what I mean? And I think that's a very powerful lesson and opportunity for all of us to also just be present. Like, you only get this one lifetime in this human experience that you're currently in. I totally believe that we never truly die and we're reincarnated in some way, but this lifetime is one and done. You're not coming back as the same Megan or whoever you are ever again. So this is your chance to show up for yourself in your life and be present to it and actually experience and feel the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the change in between. And pictures are going to be the way I do that, I think. Explore my inner child a bit, appreciating the journey, being present to our lifetime and life lived. So yeah, I hope you guys were able to follow the signs and got something out of this, and hopefully it helps you tune into whatever higher power that you believe in, because just trust that you are not alone in this universe and people have overcome the craziest things. So if you're going through it right now, know again that you're not alone and that you have support in your village, in your circle, and also from the above. You are constantly surrounded by guide and support if you choose to be open to that. So feel free to message me anytime too if you want to talk it out at megdavis.healthcoach. I am happy to listen and guide you to the best of my ability based on what I've learned from my personal experience. But I definitely am no expert either. So I can always guide you in the right direction of someone that could potentially help impact your journey on the way it's unfolding. But thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed diving back into some big picture thinking this week. We're going to wrap this thing up with a wellness mocktail as always. I'm calling this the Sprite tea. It was kind of a by accident combo, but it was so yummy, and I'm already craving another one. It's super basic. I just did the lemon herbal tea concentrate, half a teaspoon of that, so 85 milligrams in that one serving. And then I paired it with another energy boost and vitamin boost, the lemon lime liftoff, and then 2 to 3 capfuls of the mandarin aloe, the superior flavor in my opinion. And together it's just a super delicious, like citrusy, kind of like sweet and sugary tasting tea and refresher. Tastes just like a Sprite. Josh even admitted that it did in the car last night. He tasted with hesitation, but then he was like, okay. In the past, you've said it tasted like soda, and it doesn't, but this one actually does taste like Sprite. So we have my husband's endorsement on this one. If you would like to try it out, definitely swing by Elevated Nutrition, Monday through Friday, 6:30 to 2:30, or Saturdays, 8 to 1. Sundays are for family. Or you can, again, message me on Instagram at megdavis.healthcoach, and I'll be happy to hook you up at home. Thanks, guys. Toodles.